Sound check, 1, 2, 3. Sound check, 1, 2, 3.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting of October 16, 2023. I'd like to call the meeting to order. A reminder that all electronic devices to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings, and please note that quorum is present in chambers this afternoon. We have Councillor Maureen Wilson, Councillor Taddison, Councillor Jackson, and for your first Public Works Committee, Councillor Huang. Councillor Kassar, and joining us virtually we have Councillor Beattie, Councillor Danko, Councillor Esther Pauls, Councillor Francis, Councillor Spadafora, and Councillor A. Wilson. Before we go any further on the agenda, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that it is Waste Reduction Week. The month of October is recognized as a Circular Economy Month, and within the week of October 15th to the 22nd, we celebrate Waste Reduction Week. To educate residents on the importance of waste reduction during this week, Hamilton Waste Management staff have planned several initiatives, including hosting tours for residents of the city's material recycling facility and central composting facility on October 21st, providing daily social media messaging and offering in-person student presentations over the 3 days of this week. Promotion will include focusing on the daily themes of Waste Reduction Week, with Monday being Circular Economy, Tuesday being Textile Tuesday, E-Waste Wednesday, Plastics Thursday, Food Waste Friday, and Sharing Economy Saturday, and with the Swap and Repair on Sunday. Educating residents about waste is a key factor in having successful waste management programs here in Hamilton, which in turn protects our environment and our community. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Waste Reduction Week and invite all residents to participate in reducing your waste not only this week, but every week going forward. On to our agenda. Elsie McIntosh, are there any changes to the agenda?
Chair Nan, there are no changes to the agenda.
Great. Can I please have a mover and seconder, and Councillor Kassar, and seconded by Councillor Huang, to approve the agenda as presented? Did it carry? Councillor Beattie, we're just waiting on your vote. All right, that carries, thank you. On to declarations of interest. Committee members, anything to declare in terms of disqualifying or non-disqualifying interests for today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which was on October 2nd, 2023. Moved by Councillor Taddison, seconded by Councillor Maureen Wilson. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, it's before committee for approval. And that carries 12-0. Thank you. On to delegation request 6.1 is Cheryl Hurd respecting cancellation of complimentary HSR ridership for individuals who are blind for a future meeting. May I please have a mover and seconder to approve the delegation request? Moved by Councillor Francis, seconded by Councillor Spadafora. Thank you both. Any discussion? Councillor Taddison, was that a hands up for discussion? No. Councillor Maureen Wilson? Yeah.
Thank you, through the chair. Pardon my ignorance, but do we have information regarding the subject matter at hand generally?
There was a report a couple of meetings back, and this is for a future delegation.
Yeah.
So over to staff.
That's fine. Fuzzy brain, I can't recall.
Sorry.
Hi, Chair, it's Nancy Purser, Manager of Transit Support Services. This is one of a portion of the temporary transit fare special program, also known as voluntary pay, that is being paused while we introduce the pilot for Fare Assist on January 1st.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, and it's before committee for approval of the delegation request. That carries, thank you. On to our consent items. First up, we have 9.1, which is update to the city's Green Fleet Strategy and Action Plan, PW Report 03147G citywide. We have Fleet Manager of Public Works, Tom Kaganias, who's here to introduce the report. So over to Tom.
Chair Nan, it's Director Leishman. Don't see Tom on the call at the moment. Perhaps I can jump in and carry on.
That'd be great. Thank you, Director.
Yes, so good afternoon. Pat Leishman, Director of Corporate Asset Management. Through the chair, we are pleased to bring forward a second annual update on the Green Fleet Strategy. This was following the May of 21 approval by Council of the strategy. We focused on 5 key recommendations of activities that have been completed over the past year. The first being a status update on where we're at with the actual purchase of the approved 89 vehicles. We have purchased 19, with 15 of them being on site. We have been horribly delayed with that purchase due to procurement issues in the supply chain following COVID, and we're coming forward to AFNA with an update on some alternate procurement strategies that we would like council approval on to help mitigate some of these issues that we're dealing with. We also were in Public Works Committee last session to provide an update on needed additional funds for the charging infrastructure, so you're aware of that piece. The third one is around our success with biodiesel. We've also implemented some wonderful training programs for staff, one around eco training, eco driver training, and the second one being around anti-idling. And then we've also introduced an anti-idling campaign. So with some of those challenges before us, we're still able to make great progress, and happy to provide this update this afternoon.
Thank you for that overview, Director. First up, we have Councillor Huang.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Director Leishman, I understand you did just say that there were supply chain issues and that's why procurement was going to be delayed. But have we explored purchasing alternate, like other types of vehicles, sedans, hatchbacks, rather than the normal SUVs that we normally think about?
Yes, thank you for your question. And through the chair, the 89 vehicles were a mix of all different types of vehicles, not just the normal SUVs that we do use. In the city, we use quite a mixture of pickups as well as smaller vehicles. And yes, we've been looking at those options, and we're always looking to, if possible, downsize a vehicle so that we're looking at it being the lightest possible vehicle to meet the right use need, so that we're always capitalizing on fuel efficiency as much as possible, or battery efficiency in this case. Yes, we have looked at other options.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Second question is in relation to Appendix B, the Green Fleet Strategy Action Plan. As I noticed that there are many frowny faces on this report, what is the most important frowny face, or the one that we're going to try and work quickly on changing that upside down frown to into an upside down what? Smile. Smile.
A smile, yes, we're always aiming for.
Smiley face is
Yes.
what I'm asking.
Yeah, so through the chair, I'll start with an answer, and then I'll ask Tom Kagianis, our fleet manager, to jump in as well. I think just generally speaking, one of our bigger issues is data and getting good, accurate data so that we can drive data-driven decisions. Fleet is scheduled to become part of the enterprise asset management implementation next year, which will certainly help with all of that. So that, to my mind, is kind of one of the bigger ones from my perspective. I appreciate Tom jumping in at this point and providing his thoughts. Or did I just steal your answer, Tom?
No problem. No, good afternoon, everyone. Tom Kagianis, Manager of Fleet Services. I would have to say our biggest challenge right now is supply of vehicles. We simply cannot purchase EV vehicles from the marketplace. They don't seem to be available. No vendors are willing to submit on any tender responses. So what we're looking at is an alternative method to propose on procuring electric vehicles.
Thank you. Last question then. Manager Kagianis, you just kind of spurred something in me. Have we explored leases of existing fleets from other suppliers?
We've looked at multiple different opportunities for looking at even not fully electric vehicles, looking at hybrid vehicles and leasing options for all of those alternatives. And unfortunately, the challenge in the supply market is not just for municipal fleets. It is also for leasing companies as well. So when we did reach out to them, they explained a similar challenge with themselves as well on procurement of electric vehicles.
Thank you. Those are all my questions, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Next up on the speakers list, we have Councillor Maureen Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a single question, catching up here on this Richmond sustainability initiatives, or whatever it is called, Richmond sustainability initiatives. I appreciate in Appendix A, it gives a little disclaimer that it's not financed by any for-profit, but I've tried to go on the website and it's not available. And I know it says we've had a relationship since the early 2000s. Is there anyone who can just help me in understanding who or what this is? Thank you.
Yep, Director or Manager?
I'm going to defer through the chair. I'm going to defer to Tom. He's got more background than that than I do on that.
Thank you.
So through the chair, I'm not 100% familiar with the program that we used Richmond Sustainability for. It was for a previous green fleet strategy that we had. And through Richmond Sustainability, we did receive an award for that. At some point back in 2008, I believe our green fleet strategy included the procurement of hybrid electric Ford Escape SUVs. And we had one of the biggest hybrid SUV fleets, and we did receive an award, and that award program was through Richmond Sustainability.
Councillor?
Thank you. So despite a very ominous picture of a pickup truck on page 1 of Appendix A, I just want to make sure, are they a company or is it a program, through the chair?
Through the chair, they are a company, a consulting company that we've used.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are no further speakers on the report. The report has been moved and seconded, and it's before committee to receive. Oh, we don't have a mover and seconder? Oh, my apologies. Who wants to move it? Thank you, Councillor A. Wilson, seconded by Councillor Tattison. Thank you. The vote is up. And it carries. Thank you. On to discussion items 11.1, winterizing public washrooms, winter operations PW report 21031B citywide. Director Cynthia Graham, Director of Environmental Services, will introduce our report.
Through the chair, thank you. This is Cynthia Graham. I'm the Director of Environmental Services, and I'm pleased to introduce this report. This is the summary of the Winter Washrooms 2-year pilot. In general, the program was seen as a success with plenty of positive feedback heard from the community across the city for the availability of washrooms in the winter. To continue the support the availability of washrooms, which has been identified as a priority of council as well, staff are recommending that the program continue with funding specifically to support keeping the listed washrooms open for this coming winter and to formalize the program for future years as part of the 2024 budget deliberations. And I do have staff here from Parks Operations to answer questions, and I believe if there are specific facilities questions, Indra is also here. Thanks.
Thank you for that overview. Committee members, the speakers list is open. Anybody have, oh, sorry, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Chair Nan, and this is really wonderful news. I'm glad to hear of the popularity Chair Nan, of the winterization of the public washrooms availability in various locations in our city. Thank you, Director Graham, and thank you, Manager Bunn. Can I just get clarified and a couple of questions? On the C part, Mountain Drive Park, that Councillor Pauls and I represent, a wonderful brand new washroom building is being built as we speak. The hopeful completion of it was to be by Christmas of this year. I would simply ask, could at least a porta-john or two be available just to ensure before the building is completed, in case the building's completion is delayed? Through you, Chair Nan, please, to staff.
Yep, through the chair, we would be happy to make that arrangement, Councillor, just to make sure that there's continuity until the washroom building can be open for the winter.
Fantastic news. And secondly, Chair Nan, could staff explain F to me, that staff be directed to consider increasing design standards for park washrooms to ensure winter access is possible for future capital new construction or reconstruction. All fixtures be installed or replaced at the time of reconstruction as institutionally resilient products such as stainless steel. I would assume that F was almost an automatic, but is this something that staff are looking at in terms of improvements and upgrades, or this is for brand new washroom buildings? Maybe the director can further explain that to me. Through you, Chair Nan, please.
Through the chair. So this is really intended to articulate an increase in design standard and above and beyond what we typically do. So we just wanted to flag it as a response to some of the vandalism that we do see in, publicly accessible washrooms. Stainless steel is a more resilient material than a porcelain toilet, as an example, and so can help with, offsetting some of the vandalism that we see. And I'm just going to ask Director Maharjan if he can speak on cost increases associated with that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Through Chair Indra Maharjan, Director for Corporate Facilities and Energy Management. So our plan is for the new builds, we will definitely look at these robust design to trade off some of the money we have to spend in fixing it all the time. But for the retrofits one, I think we'll make a decisions case by case on the financial implications. Some feedback also has been is if we go with fully robust, it doesn't give a little bit of more comfort vibe just because it looks like it's a prison grade kind of looks, but it's strong. So I think we will look at those options and pros and cons and make those decisions as we go forward.
Okay, Directors Maharjan and Graham, thank you for that. A couple more questions, Chair Nan. Thank you. I'm glad we're back to the rules of procedure that most of the rest of us have been familiar with this term versus the Deputy Mayor of this time. So thank you, Chair Nan.
2 minutes, Councillor.
A couple more questions. The B part, Directors Maharjan and Graham, you're helping through the tax stabilization reserve to get us through to this winter, and then permanently, is it in 24 that you're looking to council to deliberate on a permanent funding source annually thereafter? Through you, Chair Nan.
Yeah, through the chair. So when we looked at formalizing this program, we would normally do that through a budget process. But because the deliberations for the 2024 capital and operating would take us through this winter, it would mean that the washrooms would have to be closed this winter. So that interim solution is to ensure that we can open them this winter with hopefully formalizing the ongoing future funding and requirements that we need to make it a permanent program.
Perfect. And Chair Nan, very last question. The only disturbing, sad part about this report is to read about vandalism in these various city-owned, taxpayer-owned washroom facilities. And obviously, I just don't understand why certain individuals would want to damage, destroy public facilities that families enjoy and use on a regular basis. So just maybe give us, Director Graham, just maybe a little bit of more proactiveness of what you and Manager Kara Bunn are hoping to do to maybe get ahead of this vandalism. And that's my last question, Chair Nan.
With 50 seconds left. Awesome. Over to you, Director.
Through the chair. So there's there's certain things that we look at when designing facilities in parks. One is we look at the principles of crime prevention through environmental design. Some people know that in the acronym CPTED. That looks at visibility, access, the ability for people to see other people's activities within the park. That does tend to reduce the incidence of vandalism and damage in our parkland in general. Some of the older facilities that we have in our parks didn't necessarily contemplate that in the design. The other piece is we did have the introduction of an intrusion detection technology in a couple locations to help with after-hours monitoring. Obviously, we don't necessarily want to have cameras because it is a washroom facility, but we did have this additional technology that helped us to monitor and maintain, a security presence as needed when those monitors went off. And I'm just going to look to the bench to see if there's anyone else that wants to add any additional to that. No. Okay. Hopefully that's a good summary for you there, Councillor.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair Nan.
Thank you. And next up on the speakers list, we have Councillor Maureen Wilson, followed by Councillor Huang.
Thank you very much. Just so I understand, my first question on the public consultation, the general themes was that permanent washroom features or facilities were favored over portable, and the public favored perhaps earlier opening hours and later opening hours. Is that an accurate summary of feedback?
Through the chair, yeah, that reflects what we heard and received feedback from the public with respect to the program.
Okay, thank you. So then my next question is, I did read the report, but I can't recall the recommendations for both interim and that which is going to be forwarded to the 2024 budget. Could you explain to me how that feedback is reflected in these recommendations through the chair?
Through the
particularly with operating hours, beg your pardon.
Sorry, through the chair, I'm going to defer that question to Manager Kara Bunn to speak to her staffing and opening and closing.
Through the chair, Kara Bunn, Manager of Parks and Cemeteries. We can certainly look at the hours of opening. The reason why we had it only during daylight hours is for the security of the staff that were going there and opening and closing them. So we'll have to talk to the contractors and the security team and see if that's a reasonable ask of them.
Thank you. So my next question, as an extension of that, my question and your response, this body considered a report a number of weeks ago with respect to increased presence or surveillance. It was a joint report from facilities, yourself, and maybe some other department, and it was about increasing, I think, an FTE, private security service, and I'm wondering, is there an opportunity there, or perhaps I don't understand the work that the enhanced service will provide, but to address some of the themes that we're seeing articulated in this report. Thank you.
Through chair, thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yes, that was, I think you are referring to the 2-year pilot Parks Patrol report.
Yes.
Yes, we learned some lessons from that to have this backup vehicle in case of need, urgent need in those instances. So that solution will also be adopted in this case with the similar model.
Thank you. Just seeking further clarification. When you say that solution is also going to be adopted, that's in addition to these recommendations, or it's going to be informed by these recommendations, or it's one and the same of these recommendations? Through the chair.
the cost for the security for this particular report is already included in this amount. That will include the security personnel as needed to address some of those incidents within these parks.
So thank you, Chair. Just to make sure I'm understanding, the previous report on the 2-year pilot, sorry to sound so daft, that monies that were earmarked for that extension is going to be informing these actions, or it's separate and apart from these recommendations? Through the Chair.
So the lessons learned from the other pilot project will have informed the recommendations when we did the costing for this particular report. So the money that's being asked on that particular report versus this is separate ask.
Okay, so thank you through the Chair. Then the ask for, I think it's an automobile of $8,000. Is that, if I recall that? Sorry, recommendation E through the Chair, a 6-month vehicle rental cost of $8,000 be referred. That vehicle, through the Chair, is separate and distinct from the vehicle that was requested on the previous report.
Through the Chair, I'll take that one. So the vehicle would support the half FTE park supervisor to formalize that as part of this program. The vehicle associated with the security team that was identified in that park security pilot was separate.
Councillor, you're close to your time. Last question, and then on to the second time.
Thank you. I do have an additional question. Further to Councillor Jackson's question on recommendation F, that staff be directed to consider increasing the design standard. Will you be reporting back on that, or is that a framework, or is that just an operational decision as per your remarks? You'll assess it whether it would be financially better to just retro or full capital. Could you explain? Thank you.
I turn it off. Through Chair, if I understand the question correctly, for the new parks that will be winterized, we'll look at the retrofit as recommended in the report. But for the retrofits of the existing facilities, we look at both options, whether we will get away with the minor upgrades to make it quickly operational for this winter, or we need major upgrades. Anything to add, Cynthia?
Yes, through the Chair. In addition, any improvements or projects would come to Council for approval of those budgets, and I think it would be evaluated as to whether staff would recommend that enhanced robust materials as part of any particular project, and we could include that as part of the information that we provide through the approval of those capital dollars. As Director Maharjan said, it's not necessarily needed in all circumstances or locations, and so we could do a case-by-case and review that as part of the capital budget asks for each project.
Thank you, Director. So as needed, either in a retrofit scenario where it is recommended where increased activity is causing damage to public facilities, that will go with a more robust design standard, and then it will be assessed based on new facilities as per the design specs and needs. Okay, Councillor, hopefully that responded to your questions. We have on the speakers list, we had Councillor Huang, you're off.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, just a question of what is the cost to put an additional location onto this list?
Through the Chair, we have that number. Oh, sorry, through the Chair. It's under the alternatives for recommendation or for consideration. Alternative number 2 talks about The operating increase would need to be around $40,164.29 per location, approximately.
Okay. And that location is supposed to be a standalone existing location, doesn't need a retrofit, doesn't need to be built brand new. Is that correct?
That's correct. Through the chair, if there was major retrofits required in order to make sure that the pipes didn't freeze or there was, adequate walking access up to the facility, that would be in addition to those costs identified.
Okay. Chair, I'm just realizing that there are no Ward 4 locations. And as such, my one and only giant park, by giant, I mean it's not even that giant, but it's a bigger park, is Montgomery Park, to which there is an existing location currently. There are already men's and women's washrooms. I'm also mindful because there is an encampment that is permitted within that site. So I will discuss with my colleagues whether this is something that we should consider, because this is an additional cost of $40,000, but it is one that I'm struggling with because it's a large location and there's an encampment there. So thank you, Chair.
Certainly. Thank you, Councillor. And then you do have between today's committee meeting and council to work with your colleagues to find a solution to make sure Ward 4 also benefits moving forward at this time. Next up on our speakers list, we have Councillor Pauls.
Thank you, and through the chair. I noticed under the engagement, Hamilton, that 52% has said didn't even know we had a pilot going. Was the engagement and how we decided where the washrooms were going to be located done during COVID, the engagement?
Through the chair, can I just clarify the question? Was the question around engagement with elected representatives as councillors or with the public?
With the public. It said that 50% of the public did not know we had this project. And so I'm wondering, was the engagement Hamilton done to see where the washrooms were going to be located? Was it done during COVID?
Oh, sorry, through the chair. The engagement that you're referring to about not knowing about the pilot program, that was in an attempt to get some feedback on how well the program was going, not necessarily to choose the locations of the winter washrooms.
Okay. It's interesting. I was reading that during COVID, more people used the park. I'm wondering if we could do more engagement after COVID to see how many more people use the park. I think it's good to have washrooms open in the winter, but I'm wondering if I could clarify the budget. It said that from November to, I think, March, it cost us over almost $500,000. And it said the operating budget to leave it permanent is $581,000. Can I verify, is it $1 million or is it just $581,000?
Through the chair, if you're referring to the table on page 8 of 9 of the report, the $1 million was the total for the 2 years. So approximately $500,000 each year.
Each year. So during the pilot, we spent $1 million in washrooms?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, so moving forward, can I have how much we're going to spend in the 2024 budget for opening washrooms? What's the estimate? Is it another $1 million?
No, Councillor, it's still the 500 mark. So if you're looking at your recommendations.
Yeah.
So recommendation B1 is that between November this year and March next year, which is the winter period that we're currently in, it's a cost of $484,000. And then the cost of $581,000 to operationalize the permanent program in 2024 onwards would be part of the 2024 tax budget.
Right. And thank you for that. I thought Cynthia would answer that, but that's fine. Okay, I just wanted to see the figures and trying to figure out what the cost is going to be for our 2024 budget. Thank you for that.
Thank you, and that exhausts our speakers list. So it's before committee for consideration. The recommendations are before you. Please vote. Oh, mover and seconder, my apologies. Moved by Councillor Wilson. Maureen Wilson, no, hang on. She's going on for a second time. She had a couple more questions. My apologies.
Thank you to the chair. No, I've been advised that it's best to make requests via a motion. So I was seeking some feedback on how we had responded to the public feedback, specifically with respect to extended hours. And thank you to Manager Bunn for the response that it'll be under consideration. But I think the practice now is to make that request officially in a motion. If that consideration can be given and all that needs to be taken into advisement in that consideration with a report back to this body on the extension of hours. Thank you.
Okay, so it'd be moved by yourself, Councillor, seconded by Councillor Taddison. Thank you. Clerk, do you need any further clarifying language, or are you good? Yep.
So that staff be directed to report back to the Public Works Committee respecting
the extension of operations during the winter months to go beyond daylight hours in response to public feedback.
Thank you.
And that would be an additional recommendation to this report, Clerk?
Correct.
Okay. Committee members, so that's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the add-on? Seeing none, we'll vote on Councillor Maureen Wilson's motion first and then come to the report as amended.
Councillor Pauls?
And that carries. Thank you. And on to the report as amended. And the report there, sorry, I don't think I have a mover and seconder on the report, right? Yeah. So moved by Councillor, lots of, oh my gosh, pick. I did see Councillor A. Wilson's hand first and Councillor Jackson's hand second. There's rapid movement over here. I did see that. I do want to acknowledge there's rapid movement.
And Councillor Pauls?
And that carries. Thank you. Okay, on to motions. We've got two for today. First up is 12.1, new play equipment for Green Acres Park, Corman Park, and Valley Park, wards 5, 9, and 10. Councillor Beattie, please introduce your motion.
Thank you, Chair. It's my pleasure to bring this forward on behalf of my fellow Stoney Creek colleagues. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Matt Francis. Whereas Green Acres Park is located at 880 Queenston Road, Hamilton Ward 5, whereas Valley Park is located at 970 Paramount Drive in Hamilton Ward 9, whereas Corman Park is located at 23 Teague Street, Hamilton Ward 10, and whereas Green Acres Park is in need of a junior and senior play structure, as there is currently only a swing set at this park location, and whereas the park's capital program is not currently funded for the addition or replacement of all of the above noted park play equipment, and whereas Valley Park and Corman Park have play structures that require replacement due to end of life cycle, and the parks budget has limited funding to replace. And whereas the 3 identified parks are candidate sites for the application of the Stoney Creek Compensation Royalties TerraPure/GFL Reserve, therefore be it resolved that $350,000 in funding from the Stoney Creek Compensation Royalty TerraPure/GFL Reserve number 117036, not to exceed $1,050,000 in total, be approved for new play equipment for each of the following parks as follows: Green Acres Park in Ward 5, Valley Park in Ward 9, Corman Park in Ward 10, and that staff be directed to undertake community engagement through the Play Your Way Engage Hamilton digital platform in 2024 for Green Acres Park, Corman Park, and Valley Park, and that the park section undertake the addition of new play equipment at Green Acres Park, Valley Park, and Corman Park in 2025. And I'm happy to give a quick speaking point to that, Chair.
Please do, go ahead.
Just want to thank my fellow Stoney Creek colleagues for putting this all together. Remind my colleagues around the table that the GFL landfill site, although currently the source of much consternation in the Stoney Creek community, it's also a source of royalty compensation fund that was set up by the previous municipality and has clearly defined boundaries where the funding can be spent within the former municipal boundaries of the city of Stoney Creek. Been working very closely with Councillors Francis and Clark, along with park staff, to try and utilize some of this reserve funding to reinvigorate some of our park locations within our shared communities. And so hoping for unanimous support and eager to get this underway for the benefit of our communities.
Thank you, Councillor. Great use of the royalties reserve, most certainly. Any others on the speakers list? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded before committee for a vote. Councillor Spadafora? And that carries on to 12.2, removal of the Hamilton Beach rescue lift located at Hamilton Beach Strip adjacent to Lakeside Avenue in Ward 5. Councillor Francis, if you could please introduce your motion and your seconder.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Beatty. Removal of the Hamilton Beach rescue lift located at the Hamilton Beach Strip adjacent to Lakeside Avenue in Ward 5. Therefore, be it resolved, A, that the removal of the Hamilton Beach rescue lift located at the Hamilton Beach Strip adjacent to Lakeside Avenue be funded from the Hamilton Beach Rescue Reserve number 110005 at an upset limit, including contingency, not to exceed $4,000, be approved, and B, that the General Manager of Public Works be authorized and directed to approve and execute any and all required agreements and ancillary documents in form satisfactory to the city solicitor. This motion comes at the request from the Hamilton Beach Rescue Unit Chief, which I actually want to take a moment to thank the outgoing Chief of the Hamilton Beach Rescue Unit, Charlie Witherington, for his 10 years of hard work and dedication as Chief and his dedication to the Hamilton Beach community and rescue operations with the rescue unit, and all that he has accomplished in his role over the years. I look forward to, first of all, I want to say thank you greatly for your service, Chief Witherington, and I look forward to collaborating with the interim chief, Ian McKillop, and the next chief of the Hamilton Beach Rescue Unit when the appointment is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. There's nobody on the speakers list, so it's been duly moved and seconded and before committee for approval.
Councillor Pauls?
And that carries on to notices motion. Any that members want to notify committee of formally? Seeing none, we'll move on to general information and other business. 14.1 is amendments to the outstanding business list. Committee members may please have a mover and seconder to approve the amendments. Moved by Councillor Huang, seconded by Councillor Beatty. Thank you both. And on the speakers list, we have Councillor Huang.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, just question about the reassessment of one-way streets. Who's doing that? Through you to Director Rial?
Good afternoon. Through the Chair, Carolyn Ryle, Director of Transportation. So this report will be forthcoming with the update for the two-way Main Street, which we're targeting to come in, I think it's November timeframe. This assessment and working with our colleagues in planning as well as engineering will be included as part of that report.
So the one-way streets will be included in the two-way Main Street report?
Through the Chair, that is correct.
And through the Chair, who's the best person to ask for additional information before this report comes forward? I'm genuinely interested in a one-way street in Ward 4 that seems to have repeat offenders on it. So I just wanted to get a sense of whether this street was actually put into the reassessment queue.
Through the Chair, you can direct that to my attention, and I'll, seeing that Transportation is drafting the report, they'll likely have that information, and then we can circle through with other internal colleagues as required for you.
Great, thank you, that's all.
Thank you. And just on that, Director, if you could just clarify, is it going to be two separate reports or one report with both?
Through the Chair, good question. We just had the conversation today to amalgamate it to one title and one report coming forward in November.
Excellent. Okay. No further speakers on the list. On the amendment, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote. While you're voting, just a reminder that October 19th is the Fall Garden and Mum Show taking place in the open Gage Park Tropical Greenhouse in Ward 3. Please come on down on the 19th and thereafter.
Councillor Beattie? Is he still there?
And that carries on. Now, adjournment, please. May I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Taddison, seconded by Councillor Huang. Thank you both. May you please vote on adjourning today's meeting. Big thanks to all the staff in preparation of your reports and responding to all the questions by committee members. Thank you to clerk's team for your support in today's meeting. And thank you to the general public who is viewing and joining us today. Thank you.
Councillor Pauls?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for abiding by those quick rules. Promptness.